Policy expert Harley Lippman. Gentlemen, great to see you both this morning. Ambassador, I'd like to start with you and your reaction to the warning from President Zelensky and the drone hit in Romania.
Well, Tracy, that just demonstrates, the drone hit in Romania demonstrates that Russia is the aggressor. President Zelensky knows that that Putin is the aggressor. Zelensky and his country have been fighting for 1,556 days against this aggression. So they know what Russia looks like and knows how, and the Ukrainians know how to stop it. They've been doing that, and NATO is learning from the Ukrainians.
Yeah, Ambassador, I want to stay with you. This morning, President Zelensky also saying that Ukraine is ready to support Romania in whatever way is necessary. What kind of regional security coordination do you expect between NATO allies and Ukraine going forward?
So the NATO allies have been coordinating very closely with Ukrainians on defense, both on the technical aspects, on the military aspects, on the weapons that both the NATO allies are providing to Ukraine, but also that Ukraine is developing to fight these drones. So Ukraine has been able to develop systems that can knock down these drones that attacked Romania and earlier attacked Poland. And Ukraine can do it much more cheaply. Much less expensive. These interceptors that the Ukrainians have put together than the NATO allies. NATO allies have very expensive systems. So again, the NATO allies are coordinating closely with the Ukrainians and are using the systems that the Ukrainians have developed.
Yeah, and Harley, as you know, Zelensky is also calling for stronger EU sanctions. What type of sanctions do you think would have the greatest impact on Russia's military capabilities?
Well, for one, making sure the sanctions are effective. During the Biden administration, and even before that, the Obama administration put sanctions on Russia when they invaded Crimea, and Russia brushed them off. Most sanctions don't work very well. They tend to be very porous, and it's easy to get around it. So I think above all, the United States has to make sure that they have as much as they can bulletproof sanctions so they can be effective. Everybody throws around the word, but if it's not truly 100% bulletproof or thereabouts and enforced, it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to deter your enemy from what you want them to do.
Yeah, I want to turn now to this, the tentative deal between Iran and the U.S. Here's what Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters yesterday. Take a listen.
If you look at what we've already accomplished here, assuming that we're able to get to a final agreement here, we're reopening the Straits of Hormuz. We've already decimated their conventional military, and we're in a position where we could substantially step back their nuclear program, not just during the term of this president, but over the long term. That's a very, very good thing for the American people. So we're not there yet, but we're very close. We're going to keep on working at it.
Harley, we've been here before. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it's complicated. Technically, he's right. President Trump has done a lot more than, in fact, if you combine the last 7 presidents that we've had in doing something about Iran, which needs to be done because they do pose an existential threat to the United States. But at the same time, let's look at consequences. I don't think that's really looked at. If they get economic aid from the United States in terms of unfrozen funds that they get, what do you think they're going to do with that money? They're going to reconstitute their military, and they're going deep underground. That's going to make it extremely difficult for the United States in the future, if we ever to have a conflict again, to get to them. And with that military, they're going to reassert themselves and give money to their proxies to create more terrorism, more war, more violence, and we're back to business as usual. So at the end of the day, yes, given the need for global energy to get through the Strait of Hormuz and the unpopularity of the war, what President Trump is doing is a good outcome. In terms of resolving this conflict and creating peace in the world for our children and grandchildren, it does not address that.
Ambassador, I'd like to get your thoughts on this and what you think should happen.
Tracy, first of all, we haven't heard very much from the Israelis. The Israelis have the potential to mess this up, to keep this ceasefire 30-day extension from really having an effect. So there is that question. And the 30 days that they've agreed to work on the nuclear issue is a bare minimum. They're going to need probably a lot more than that. And I guess they've said that this 30 days can be extended. So that will be the focus of very detailed, very complicated discussions that are probably going to take longer than 30 days. If the ceasefire holds and if the Israelis don't mess it up, then they can work out some kind of a deal.
Yeah, I also want to touch on this. After President Trump's that threat that he had on Oman, he talked about that on Wednesday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he followed suit, warning that the U.S. would aggressively impose sanctions if it helps Iran establish a tolling system in the Strait. But in yesterday's briefing, Secretary Bessent, he took a little bit of a cooler tone. Let's listen to this.
I think the president wanted to punctuate freedom of navigation in the Strait. I had a call with the Omani ambassador this morning, and he assured me that there were no plans for tolling the Strait. As he said, our countries have had 200 years of good relations. He wants to have another 200 more. And I told him that this was a non-starter, and he did not want to risk either the Omani individuals or Omani financial institutions getting sanctioned.
Yeah, Harley, of course, we know Oman has been a longtime ally of ours. Your reaction to what Secretary Bessent had to say, Harley?
Well, the real worry is Iran going to reassert control of the Strait of Hormuz at some point in the future? This is what really is the issues here. Whatever we agree to today with a regime that lies and doesn't honor agreements is a little bit, wanting. I'll try to be polite and put it that way. So again, it's all about impact, enforceability, measuring consequences, and doing damage to the regime to such an extent where they're either unable and unwilling to be able to cause problems in the region. Your guest talked about Israel messing it up. Keep in mind that America, I don't think, has ever seen a more reliable, dependable, and effective military ally like Israel in the last, not since World War II. And at the same time, Israel is incurring thousands of rockets and missiles from Hezbollah into Israel, into Israeli homes. Where that happened to American homes, I'm not sure your guest would use the word Israel's messing, someone's messing it up. But that all said, I think Israel will follow the instructions of President Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu has no choice. He depends 100% on the United States. And if President Trump says you have to honor this, they will. That'll be a strategic victory for Iran. Their most important proxy is Hezbollah, and that's why Iran is insisting on it. So again, we have to measure outcomes. Who's really winning here? Who's really losing? And what are going to be the consequences? I think these are the real issues.
Well, Harley Lippman, Ambassador William Taylor, a pleasure to be with you both. Thank you both so much for weighing in.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.